There comes a time in a man's life when he walks into a room and no longer wonders what people think of him, because he finally knows who he is. But for many, reaching that point is delayed by decades of carrying invisible chains. The heavy burden of trying to be liked by everyone. Dr. Thomas Reeve, a retired geriatric specialist with over 40 years of experience, has walked beside thousands of men in their later years. He's heard the regrets, the confessions, and the quiet triumphs, and one truth stands out above the rest. The moment a man stops living for others' approval is the moment he truly starts living for himself. You've spent a lifetime playing roles. The dependable son, the hardworking provider, the strong silent type, the agreeable friend. Maybe you wore these roles proudly, or maybe they were expected of you. But at what cost? Behind every polite smile and every quiet compromise, a part of you faded into the background. Now, at 70 or beyond, the weight of others' opinions may still linger. Do you still hesitate before speaking your truth? Do you still measure your worth through someone else's lens? If so, it's time to let it go. This video isn't just about aging. It's about liberation, about removing the masks we were told to wear, and finally meeting ourselves face to face. If you stay with me through this, you'll learn how to reclaim the space you gave away, and fill it with peace, joy, and unapologetic self-respect. A man named Jack once sat in my office. 73 years old. He had worked his whole life in insurance, raised 3 kids, stayed married through tough years, respected by all. But he looked at me, tears forming in eyes dulled by decades of performance, and said, "I don't think anyone really knows me. I'm not even sure I do." Jack had lived his whole life trying to be palatable, likable, admirable, and now that the applause had faded and the crowds had dispersed, he was left wondering, who am I when no one is watching? Psychologically, we're wired for connection, but somewhere along the line, connection got confused with approval. Social psychologists refer to this as the false self, a version of us shaped not by who we are, but by who others want us to be. This false self may have helped you fit in, get the job, keep the peace, but it also robbed you of something priceless, your freedom. After 70, the brain begins to shift. It naturally starts to prioritize emotional regulation and personal meaning over social conformity. Nature itself is inviting you to stop playing the part and start living the truth. Imagine walking into a room and speaking your mind without second-guessing. Imagine wearing what feels good, doing what feels right, and loving who you love, without apology. Not out of rebellion, but out of peace. At this stage in life, there is a beautiful freedom in becoming unapologetically yourself. Letting go of the need to be liked isn't selfish. It's sacred, because the truth is, not everyone will like you, but the right ones. The real ones. They'll love you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. Tonight, sit with yourself and ask, what decisions in my life were made just to please someone else? Where am I still pretending? And then, breathe. Say no when you mean no. Speak gently, but honestly. Surround yourself with people who let you exhale, not people who make you hold your breath. This is your liberation. But the next insight, that's the one most older men overlook, even as it slowly robs them of peace. If this part speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. I read everyone, and your voice matters. There comes a day when you look around your home, the books, the tools, the furniture, the souvenirs, and you quietly ask yourself, why am I still holding on to all this? Not because you don't love your memories, but because you're finally starting to crave space. In your home, in your mind, and in your heart. Dr. Thomas Reeve, with more than 40 years of caring for aging men, often says, the greatest clutter in a man's home is rarely just physical. It's emotional. And when you start clearing one, you free the other. Through thousands of bedside conversations, he's seen it time and again. Men in their final chapters surrounded by possessions, but longing for peace. You may not feel it consciously, but every time you pass that old cabinet stuffed with things you don't use, every time you open a drawer full of tangled memories, or walk into a garage you haven't touched in years, there's a small part of you that sighs. The things you once worked so hard to afford, the tools, the collections, the decorations, no longer bring the satisfaction they used to. In fact, they've quietly become noise. And here's the deeper truth: what you keep ends up keeping you. This isn't just about tidying up. This is about reclaiming your space, reclaiming your energy, and letting go of what no longer serves the man you've become. I once visited a retired electrician named Marvin. He was 78, sharp as a tack but visibly tired. He told me, "Doc, I walk into my garage and I feel like it's staring me down." He hadn't used half his tools in a decade, but the thought of letting them go stirred guilt, like throwing away a part of himself. But when we reframed it, not as losing the past, but as making room for peace, he started small. One shelf, then one cabinet, then one room. And as he cleared the physical space, something unexpected happened. He started smiling more. He started sleeping better. He said, "It feels like I'm breathing again." Research on aging shows that clutter has a direct impact on cognitive clarity. As we age, the brain craves simplicity. Visual noise can elevate stress hormones and reduce your ability to focus, remember, and feel calm. That old saying, "A tidy space, a tidy mind," it's not just quaint. It's neurological truth. Letting go of physical excess literally frees up your brain's capacity to be present, to feel peace, and to engage more deeply in meaningful experiences. Here's what no one tells you: your worth was never in your watch collection. Your identity isn't tied to the tools you once used, and your legacy isn't what you leave in boxes. It's in the way you showed up, the laughter you shared, the wisdom you passed on. Your kids and grandkids won't remember the china set or the fishing gear. They'll remember how you made them feel. Start with this simple question: does this item still bring value to my life today? Not 10 years ago. Not maybe someday, today. Create a space in your home that feels like now. Not a museum of who you used to be. Gift the meaningful things to someone who can use them. Donate what you can. And keep only what breathes. Joy into your daily life. This isn't giving up your past. It's clearing the runway for your next chapter to take flight. But what happens when social expectations, the ones you used to follow without question, no longer match the man you've become? That's where we're heading next. If this part helped you reflect on what you've been holding on to, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and tell me why. I'm listening. You've shaken hands at parties you didn't want to be at. You've smiled through conversations that drained your soul. You've nodded politely while your spirit screamed, "I don't belong here." But after 70, something changes. You begin to realize that your time, your energy, is the most sacred thing you have left, and it's time to protect it. Dr. Thomas Reeve, retired geriatric specialist, once told a room full of men in their 70s and 80s, "Every yes that isn't meant steals peace from your future." For decades, he's helped older men understand that social obligation is often the last invisible chain, one many don't even recognize they're still wearing. Let's be honest, there are social routines you've kept up out of habit. Birthday dinners, family barbecues, holiday parties, card nights, club meetings. Some of them you genuinely enjoy, but others, they leave you exhausted. You walk away feeling emptier than when you arrived. Not because you don't care about people, but because your soul is asking for quieter, richer moments. more meaning, less maintenance. So why is it still so hard to say no? Because for most of your life, your value was tied to being dependable, to showing up, to being agreeable, involved, a good man. But what if being a good man now means honoring yourself? This part of your journey is about stepping into the power of intentional presence, not being everywhere, but being fully wherever you choose to be. And that choice is yours now, more than ever. Let me tell you about Peter. He was 76, sharp, polite, and busy. Always busy. Church groups, community boards, golf weekends, family obligations. His calendar was full, but his heart felt empty. He told me, "I'm surrounded by people, but I feel more alone than ever." Peter was exhausted, not from work, but from wearing a mask. He was saying yes to everything, and no to himself. So we started small. He skipped one event, then two, and he used that time to do something he hadn't done in years. Sit in his garden. Just him. Quiet. Free. He called me a month later and said, "I forgot what peace felt like." Neuroscience shows that chronic social obligation, especially when misaligned with inner values, elevates cortisol levels, increases fatigue, and contributes to emotional burnout in older adults. Your nervous system wasn't built for perpetual performance. As we age, our brain's emotional centers shift. We become more selective, more attuned to what truly nourishes us. This isn't selfish. It's biology. It's wisdom. Here's what no one says loud enough. You've earned the right to decline, to say no without explanation, to cancel without guilt, to retreat without shame. There is deep beauty in a life curated with intention. Life where you stop showing up everywhere just to prove you're still needed, and start showing up only where your soul says yes. The people who truly care, they'll understand, and if they don't, maybe they were only there for the performance, not the person. This week, try this simple exercise. Write down the recurring social commitments in your life. Next to each, write how you feel after attending, not during, but after. Circle the ones that drain you. Now imagine gently stepping back from just one of them. What would that time give back to you? A quiet walk? A nap in the sun? A deeper conversation with someone who matters? Your time is not infinite, but your choices still are. Give your future the gift of freedom. But the next burden? It's one many men carry without even realizing it. A silent war with the mirror and what they see as they age. If you've ever said yes when your heart screamed no, type 1 in the comments. If you've mastered the art of peaceful boundaries, type 0 and share how. Let's learn from each other. One morning, you glance in the mirror. You see the creases, the thinning hair, the softening lines, and for just a second you wonder, is this still me? But here's the truth. The man in that mirror is not fading. He's revealing. What remains now is real. Dr. Thomas Reeve has sat with thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. And he says the same quiet fear echoes through them all. Will I still matter when I no longer look like the man I once was? It's not vanity. It's identity. And it deserves gentleness, not shame. The world doesn't talk much about how deeply men hurt when they feel invisible. Every commercial screams youth. Every movie glorifies strength without age. Every subtle signal says, if you're not young, you're no longer relevant. So you adjust. You cut your hair a certain way. You stay quiet when younger voices dominate the room. You stand back, even when you still have wisdom to give. But inside, a quiet ache grows. Am I still seen? Do I still carry value? Yes, you do. More than ever. Because what society calls aging is really arrival. This part of your journey isn't about clinging to youth. It's about redefining beauty, Masculinity and power, on your terms. You don't need to be who you were. You're becoming who you're meant to be. Let me share the story of Henry. 81, former firefighter, proud, tough, and still upright. But he confessed one day, "I avoid mirrors. They remind me I'm not the man I used to be." So we talked about the burns he'd carried others through, the homes he'd rescued, the family he raised, the grief he endured, the love he gave. And I asked him, "Isn't that the man in the mirror?" He paused. Tears welled up. Because for the first time, he saw that aging hadn't taken his strength. It had revealed it. Science shows that while our skin loses elasticity and muscles soften with age, other things increase: emotional regulation, wisdom-based, reasoning, empathy, resilience. NeuroImaging confirms that the aging brain lights up more in areas tied to meaning, perspective, and insight. You may not have the strength to lift what you once did, but now you can carry what younger men can't. Perspective, patience, peace. You're not here to compete with youth. You're here to embody something deeper. The man who laughs with his whole heart, who listens more than he speaks, who's comfortable in his skin because he knows what it took to get here. Your wrinkles are not flaws. They are stories, each one a lesson, a victory, a survival. There's beauty in a face that's been lived in eyes that have seen loss and still choose love, in hands that may tremble but still know how to hold what matters. Tonight, look in the mirror, not to inspect, but to acknowledge. Speak out loud to your reflection. You made it. You've lived. And you're still here. Then do something that affirms your evolving self. Wear what feels good, not what hides the years. Move your body for joy, not aesthetics. Compliment yourself the way you'd compliment your dearest friend. You are still becoming, not lesser, just more deeply you. But the last burden, it's the heaviest. It's the guilt so many older men carry for finally choosing themselves. If you've ever looked in the mirror and struggled to love what you saw, type 1 in the comments. If you found peace with your reflection, type 0 and tell us how you got there. Your story might just help another man today. You spent a lifetime putting others first. You carried the weight quietly. Expectations, sacrifices, silent burdens. And now at this stage of life, when you finally whisper, "I want something for me," a small voice inside says, "But do I deserve it?" Yes, brother, you do. And it's time to lay that guilt down. Dr. Thomas Reeve, in his final year of clinical practice, had a conversation with a man named Eli, 82 years old, recently widowed. Eli said, "I've done everything for everyone. But now that I want to just rest, travel, maybe fall in love again, I feel guilty, like I'm betraying my past." Dr. Reeve leaned forward and said, "You're not betraying your past, you're honoring your present." Many older men carry an invisible guilt. Guilt for resting. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for starting over. Guilt for putting themselves at the center of their own lives. It comes from decades of conditioning. Provide, protect, produce. You did all of that, and more. But now that the house is quieter, the calendar lighter, the nights longer, you're left wondering, who am I when no one needs me? And the deeper wound? You fear that choosing joy now might look like selfishness. It's not. It's healing. This final chapter of your life is not a slow fading away. It is a chance to come home to yourself, to sit beside your own soul without apology, to say, "I've earned this," and to believe it. There was a man named Walter, 85, brilliant, stoic, alone. He told Dr. Reeve, I always said, someday I'll go fishing again. Someday I'll visit Ireland. Someday I'll take painting back up. But I was always waiting until the kids were settled, until work slowed down, until the timing was right. Now, my body's tired, my knees ache, my eyesight's fading. I waited too long. Walter didn't say this with bitterness. He said it with a tear and a soft smile, because he knew. He knew what he'd given, and he wished, not for more time, but for the courage to have taken a little of it back. Psychologists call it altruistic guilt, the belief that choosing yourself somehow means letting others down. It's common in caregivers, fathers, providers, especially men raised with stoic values. But after 70, something remarkable happens. Your brain craves meaning over duty, and your nervous system responds positively to pleasure, calm, and purpose. In fact, prioritizing joy at this stage improves longevity, reduces cognitive decline, and increases emotional vitality. You don't need to apologize for wanting happiness, you need to honor it. Read that again. You have nothing left to prove. You've loved. You've lost. You've built. You've endured. Now, you get to live. Not for the job, not for the children, not for the expectations, but for the sunsets, the stillness, the softness in your partner's hand, the coffee that tastes better when you drink it slow. You don't owe anyone an explanation for seeking peace. You owe yourself the permission to enjoy it. Start by asking this question each morning. What would make today beautiful for me? Then go do that. Guilt-free, take the walk. Cancel the meeting. Buy the ticket. Start the project. Eat the damn pie. Leave space in your day for joy. Not as a reward, but as a right. You are not stealing from your past. You are investing in your soul. Poetic close. The final gift of letting go. There is a kind of manhood that's loud and firm, but there is another, softer, wiser, that walks quietly through his home, touching memories with gratitude, not regret, breathing deeply, smiling freely, and resting fully. This is the season of unburdening, of gentle mornings and slower conversations, of shedding what the world once demanded, and stepping into the life you now choose. Let go, not to lose, but to become. If this video spoke to your spirit, subscribe to the Beauty of Wise Years. Be part of a community where men support each other, grow together, and age with strength, clarity, and peace. Your journey matters. Your story still unfolds, and you're not walking it alone. If you've ever felt guilty for putting yourself first, type 1 in the comments. If you found freedom in choosing your own joy, type 0 and inspire another man who's still trying to get there.